We all love a good joke. Most of the time you realize that comedians are not dumb people. They're very cerebral. They're very smart people. At least the best ones always are. Jokes are something that's been with us since the beginning of time, and we teach our children from the very beginning to find the joy in a mystery. Mysteries are the greatest thing that we cerebrally find appealing. Just like when you have victory in a competition, say a sporting event, your body feels so much elation and joy, right? But your mind finds joy in a mystery, in solving a mystery. We start off with a child very small, and we'll have them say a joke like a knock-knock joke. It's a very simple task to say, who is it? Knock, knock, who's there? It could just as easily say something like, what is it? And basically, it's just trying to start a process of thinking. The mind revels in unraveling mysteries. It's one of the greatest joys that it could ever have. And so we have different mysteries that we love to solve. And it's only in the solving of the mystery do we find joy. If you think about sorrow, some of the most bitter people that you will ever meet in your life are those that think they have everything all figured out, or as figured out as far as they care to try. But those that are full of wonder, like a child, are generally the happiest people there are. It is in the discovery that we find our greatest joy. So when we think of hell, we'll say an example, where there is wailing and gnashing of teeth. This is the opposite of peace, because you are not at rest. You are at unrest. You are in misery. You're in misery because you cannot understand. You are in misery because you do not have light. The word light simply means enlightenment, to have understanding. And if we do not have understanding, we do not have truth, then we only have darkness. And just like all things that grow in the light, enlightenment creates growth. And that which does not grow dies. So when the Bible's talking about living in death, or living truth, or living waters, or even let the dead bury their own, as Jesus said, he's telling you that the dead are ignorant. Intelligence is a choice. It is a choice to follow, to pursue something you did not know otherwise. So we are trying to push forward, to try to move forward, to understand something greater. And this growing makes us like a snowball, or like a tree that grows. You start at one point, and by the time you reach the end, you no longer fit where you started, because you were too big to fit where you were. And so it's all about growth. And this is life. Life and light. Light is intelligence. So we need to find intelligence to grow. Remember, Abraham was told that his children will be like stars. Well, basically, he's taking you from the sands of the earth, like the seeds of nothingness, and making you into a body of enlightenment. And so we're trying to grow in the light of understanding. And so we are growing from one point to another, and we're becoming greater as we go. But those that think they know, stop. You stop right in the middle of your path, because you have ceased to grow. I choose no longer to learn anything. I stop my progress altogether, and because I stop, I die. Death is the most powerful thing that we want to overcome, because when we stop growing, it means we stop knowing. We don't want to stagnate. We don't want to be stuck in misery. We don't want to be stuck in a place that we can't get out of. And this is the prison of the mind. Remember, Christ has come into the world that he may free the world. His name itself means salvation, or savior. The word simply means freedom. To be emancipated means to be free. So he is the truth that frees us from the prisons of the mind. Think of the word soul. The word soul in Greek is psyche. Psyche means mind. In the mind, I am trapped in myself, and I cannot get out of this prison because I am stuck and I cease to grow. Control is the biggest enemy we have on this planet. It's the biggest enemy we all have, because we are afraid of change, because change is messy. Change hurts. It destroys everything we all have. It's why old people are so bitter and young people are such chaos. Young people are so trying to figure out everything, that they're everywhere and they're trying to learn, they're making mistakes. But older people have gone through the trouble, and they've made the mistakes, and they believe they've learned it all. And because they believe they've learned it all, they've clung to it desperately. And any chaos that comes knocking on the door, get out of my yard! You start throwing whatever you can at them. We fear change, so we do not grow. And those that fear change die. So the Bible tells us to take off the old man, because the old man is bitter and he thinks he knows it all. But the child is what needs to grow. And so we must be as children so that we may start over, that we may be renewed. This is what the essence of taking up the cross daily is about. The word cross means literally to make a stand, to take a stand. It does not mean to stay steady in one place and do not grow. It means to make a choice. And we make a choice daily to die. We die to ourselves because we realize that nothing we know is really anything of itself, that we must start over every day to be renewed, to be refreshed, to search all over again. So we die daily. We take up our cross that we may die and then be reborn, rebirth, renewal, born again. We are born again Christians because we live in the now. We do not live in the past. We do not dwell in the future. These things we cannot reconcile by being one or the other. The future doesn't exist. It is an uncertainty. And this is the essence of the words of you cannot serve both God and mammon. We think that the word mammon often means just money, but it isn't, even though money is the currency of the soul. Truth, true riches, beliefs are the currency of the soul. And we'll revisit that in a second. But the thing is that we get stuck. We get stuck in an element of ourself that we cannot get beyond. And so we trust in money. And that's where the word mammon becomes money, because it means certainty. Certainty is not progression. We cannot serve both morality and certainty, because morality is dynamic. Morality is people. Morality is chaos. Morality is all the changes and all the things that happen in life that create love. When you are certain of something, you do not change. You are unyielding and you are inflexible. And because you are uncertain, and because you are so certain in yourself, the person who says that I know admits that he knows nothing, because you are so certain that you have locked yourself into a prison of the soul and you do not escape. And so thus you need truth to set you free. Jesus, salvation, freedom, truth. He is the embodiment of truth here on earth. His life was not that of a man. His life was that of a truth. It's an understanding. It is a progress that goes from that beginning point to that end point. And we are all trying to develop that image of Christ. We are trying to be followers of Christ. The word that's used for followers, as followers of Christ, is mimos, to mimic. We are imitators of Christ. We are not following in his footsteps. We are following the process of truth. And Christ represents that process of truth. And everything he did from the beginning to the end represents all the truth that had come before, being embodied in the flesh. We use the word to represent truth. The word became flesh. The truth became known. The truth became life. I am the way, the truth, and the life. The way is the path. The path to righteousness. The path to righteousness is a straight and narrow path. It is not too far to the right. It is not too far to the left. Wax on, wax off. It is neither one of these. That it is together that we find balance. Because if you become overly righteous, you become, like Ecclesiastes says, do not become overly righteous. Do not become overly wise. Why should you destroy yourself before your time? Do not become overly foolish. So why should you die in your own foolishness? So basically, we are not to let one hand depart from the other, that we are to follow the straight and narrow path, that we are to follow the path of correctness, not overly righteous, not overly foolish, but balanced. And in balance, we find that sort of truth. And Christ is that sort of truth. And he's taken all the things of our life and embodied them together into one being, into one source, into one path that we all must follow, and it's the path of balance. But in religion, we've often taught of it as being that you must be overly righteous, you must be overly faithful. But this leads you astray, because this leads you to believe that you are certain in all things. And certainty is not a thing that can let you find God. You cannot be serving both masters. You cannot be both certain and yet be reborn each day. Because if I was certain, then I wouldn't need to grow. If I know, when I admit I know, that means that I have become the master of all the things that I believe in. So if I believe in all these rules that the Bible has taught me, then I have gone to a certain point and I've reached a standstill and I become a Pharisee. It means a lawyer, one who holds the law, one who keeps the law so tight that he kills for it. I believe so emphatically that this is the way things must be, to the point of destruction. And John the Baptist calls them, he says, who are you vipers? Who are you vipers to come from the impending doom? It's because the viper, the snake, means wisdom, and this wisdom has thus come forth. And so this deadly wisdom has come forth before him. Who are you, this deadly wisdom, to think that you have found the path to truth? Who are you to think that you can cross over from the veil, from death into life? As this is the baptism, what it represents, that we go down into the bitter spirit of the water and rise up into the enlightened spirit of the air, the water, the mirror, the balance of truth. That who are you to think that you are worthy? And this is part of the reason that we get so stuck in the rules. And Christ told them, you don't understand. It is not the rules. The rules are only what got you to this point. It's the name Isaac and the name Ishmael. The names in the Bible, they're easily looked past because we don't realize that we are the world of the book. We do not realize that we are that entire book, all of us. Each one follows that same path, and this is the process of truth. This is the process of Christ, the process of gaining the authority so that you may rule the kingdoms of your soul, that you may be as a King of kings, Lord of lords, and master of the world within. So we get stuck in the rules and we lose all the hope and all the possibilities of what could actually have come because we have become resilient to change. And so let's consider those Pharisees, those money changers as well, or those true riches that we call truth. Consider that each time that you have a belief is a truth. This is a wisdom that has been brought up from the depths of your soul. And we've gained an understanding through the things that we've gone through. And of these understandings, they become precious as pearls. They become precious as precious stones, as truths. And so we gather all our treasures together and we bring them into the storehouse of our heart, of our home. And we use these things as a currency of exchange. With this currency of understanding, we buy more understanding. I will gain the field of the soul. Of the soul, I can then gather and grow more truths, like the fields of wheat, that I may harvest of these truths and add more understanding to myself, the unprofitable servant that does not use the riches of truth to gain more for his master, so that he does not gain more enlightenment for the little bit that he had. We must put those things to work, not just bury it in the ground, but to nurture it, to grow, make it work for us. And so we have these riches of the soul, the commodity exchange of all understanding. We either buy the things to gain more truth, or we sell them that we may gain profit from the things that we teach, the things that we share. If I had something, a belief that was dear to me, and I gave it away, I either gave it away to someone else, or I taught it to someone else and shared it that way. Either way, I've gained the profit of what I have said, or what I've shared. And so this is how it all works. That this is the life's blood of a city, the life's blood of all the things of the mind work as truth. And so we must work with the exchange of truth. And in fact, you'll get that same understanding from the rich man and the camel, or the camel going through the eye of a needle. Consider that a garment is truth that is woven together. And so a rich man is too full of himself. He's too full of his riches. And he cannot become small enough, cannot be humble enough that he can weave together a thread of truth. The thread of truth goes to the eye of the needle. It's not a sheep gate, it never was. Somebody came up with that years ago, but it has nothing to do with that whatsoever. It is that you cannot weave a thread of truth because you are so full of yourself. So it is hard for a rich man to inherit the kingdom of heaven. The kingdom of heaven is a city. It is a kingdom. It is a kingdom of the higher ideals. And that we must elevate ourselves to a state of higher understanding. Only in the state of higher understanding do we find the kingdom of God. Do we find an understanding and mirror God? Do we find the truth mirrored within ourselves, reflected within ourselves? Only in the higher state of understanding, in a city, in the sky, the state of enlightenment. So we take these treasures of our soul, and we use them to gain more understanding. These things are used for all means throughout the Bible, to buy the potter's field, to gain salvation of the soul. We used all these different things as money because they are all the riches of the mind. And so we find humor to be a beautiful thing because we have bought with this money understanding, and our mind feels enlightened and we feel joy. So when you think of those that think they have it all figured out, they're stuck in a place of misery because they don't really know. They think they got it figured out, and it creates their misery. And it leads them to do very, very miserable things. But you can be renewed and be full of wonder because there's so much to discover, because God's truth is not just in that book. It is everywhere. It is a hidden secret that is in the midst of everything. It is built in everything. How does a creator that we cannot understand, we'll say, how does the universe teach you how to mirror itself? It puts clues everywhere. It puts clues in its creation that you may understand it better. That God is the universe and God is all things. God is in all things, permeates all things. Consider an atom. An atom has energy that lasts eternal. It is a small element of almost nothingness that is infused with the power of God. It is pure energy, and everything is made from it. And thus this energy is everywhere. The power of God infuses all of everything. And so the truth is hidden like seeds of sand, like seeds in the sand, that we may take these nothingness and gather them together, that we may become as the stars, enlightened and fully in bloom.